What's up, everybody? Khaled Iwamura here from insaga.com, and I have the mayor of Mississauga, Bonnie Crombie, on with me for a monthly chat. How you doing?
I remember when we did these weekly,
Yes, for
right
about
throughout
2.5
COVID. Mhm.
years. So,
I was discussing lessons learned from COVID this morning at the Toronto Board of Trade and how it was an era of collaboration and coordination among three levels of government, but even across GTHA mayors.
so let me start with that then, because you brought it up. I did see it on your stories. You're with Mayor Patrick Brown of Brampton,
Right?
right?
Yes.
So
Shelley
yeah,
Carroll, who was, there on behalf of the City of Toronto, and she's
okay.
chair of Economic Development Committee.
So did the topic come up of Mississauga leaving Peel? Because I know he is against it, you are for it. Did that come up?
The topic didn't come up. We were discussing economic growth in the airport corporate zone and the employment zone, where there are about 400,000 jobs and employees, in addition to the 50,000 that work directly at the airport. So we were really talking about economic investment into the airport employment zone.
Okay.
But we started off with lessons learned from COVID and the collaboration and coordination that occurred between different levels of government and right across the GTA, because our experience was quite unique with having, essential workers living and being employed in large factories, manufacturing, particularly in Peel. So seeing our transmission rates high in places of employment, transmitting it down to home and into the community, and how we all work together.
Awesome. Now, if Mayor Brown did bring up the Peel topic, what would you have said to him? If what is the latest on Mississauga leaving Peel?
So we are waiting for the facilitators to be appointed and to come to talk to us about, assets, liabilities, revenues, et cetera. The way it was described to me is they would come and analyze who owned what and how that would be separated, and how they could put create utilities for things like water, wastewater, etc. And what do you do with the building that currently houses the Region of Peel Council? That's in Brampton, but it's owned by, technically owned by Peel Region. Would that be an asset that would be sold and the funding redistributed? So it was that sort of, let's call it divorce proceedings, and
Okay.
how do you, who owns what and who gets equitable share of the proceeds.
Would it be fair to say the ball is rolling then for Mississauga to leave Peel?
I think that would be slightly premature. I'd be more comfortable saying that once I knew the facilitators had been appointed and they were scheduled to come in and meet with city staff and, go through, and the Region of Peel as well, and go through, all our assets and liabilities, etc. So we're still waiting. That was supposed to happen at the end of January. So we're just 4 or 5 weeks out of when we heard it would begin. So I'm assuming that they will get to that soon, because the Premier did indicate he wanted it to happen over a 1-year period, and that that it would not. So we would go into the next election in a different, as a single tier city.
Okay, awesome. So this weekend there was a Liberal.
I am not sure Mayor Brown opposes it. He says today he doesn't have an opinion, but why would he oppose having his own city? Why would anyone oppose that? Look at the identity that's wrapped up into Brampton. They're the Flower City. They have a very unique, distinct identity. They're all about Bill Davis. We're about Hazel McCallion. That's our legacy. And the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. We're very proud that we have Anishinaabe origins with the Mississaugas of the First Credit. We would never want to lose that in any sort of potential amalgamation. I don't see how that could happen, just based on the fact that we take a lot of pride in our origins with the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation, and Hazel McCallion.
Sure.
This is our matriarch who has just passed. Mississauga's identity is wrapped up in Hazel McCallion.
True.
And our Indigenous origins. And we will be celebrating 50 years next year. So I don't see anything other than being an independent, freestanding, single-tier city occurring for a lot of reasons, but particularly for those. And Brampton equally proud of their roots and their identity as we are, and that would be lost in an amalgamation. We know that amalgamations are costly and not very nimble, shall we say, and innovative. They're large behemoths.
So I'm going to move on to another question here. I noticed that this weekend you did attend the Liberal leadership, provincial leadership in Hamilton this weekend, correct?
Yeah, there was an annual general meeting, and I haven't attended. There's no secret that I was a federal Liberal member of Parliament once upon a time. And
I noticed that you're wearing red.
Oh yeah, everyone does. Everyone does. It's the thing to do. You wouldn't go there wearing blue, just as you wouldn't go to a conservative convention wearing red either. So it's just a little convention that they have. A little.
You've been asked this. Oh, sorry. You've been asked this a million times, so I have to ask. Right? You have not said yes or no in regards to the leadership, kind of provincial leadership. Would you at some point run for Liberal provincial leadership?
That's a big question. We have so much to accomplish here in Mississauga, and my sights right now are solely focused on our priorities here. I love my job. I love my city. I'm fighting for independence. I want to fulfill Hazel's legacy and make sure we're a single tier independent city. I know she discussed it with the Premier, even in her final hours. So I'm very hopeful that that message is, sticking with him. And we have so much we're building here. What an incredible city. We have 39 cranes in the ground. I've just committed to building 120,000 new housing units, completing our LRT. There's so much underway. And I have a great new team. I just love my new councillors. I've had the opportunity to be out in the community with them, and the contributions they make at the council table that are out in the community I must tell you, I am so proud of the team I have and that we work so well together. And it is a departure from previous teams, but I see them more out in the community, more out with me. How many times have I gone to events and I'd be the only representative from the city? And now there's always a group of us. They're keen to be out and flying the Mississauga flag. And, they do all the reading and they make really great contributions at the table. So I have a great team. I have an amazing city. I love my work, and I got a job to do to fulfill Hazel's legacy. And I got a pledge I have to live up to for the Premier, and not to mention all the public transit we have underway as well.
I guess how do you feel that they launched? Does that feel good?
It's very flattering, but it's a big job and it's a big decision to make, and it's timing doesn't feel right with everything we have going on here.
Awesome. Let's talk about snow windrows.
Oh,
okay. Is there any way that we can clear the snow and then zap it, melt it, and then the driveways are clear of the snow?
You must have listened to the same report I did this morning about the melting. There was a piece of equipment in a bygone era. Yes, that did. And then there was some sort of environmental impact that machine had made. And so they stopped using it.
Trust me, nobody will care. They just want it
very negative. I know. So listen, every year this comes up. I will admit that I have heard more so from residents this year than I have before. I return a lot of resident calls, and many of them this year have been about the windrow. And I think that we have not had a lot of snow this year, but the impact of the snow and ice that we have had has been pretty profound. And people go out of their way, they shovel their driveways. Following that, the snowplow comes and puts that wall of snow and ice back at the end of their driveway. Now, we've looked at the cost of purchasing the equipment to remove the windrow. And I will share with you that it will clear the windrow on large avenues, on large major arteries and roads, but not the smaller ones. It's a very large, very long piece of equipment. And it won't, it won't clear the windrow on the smaller roads and cul-de-sacs. So it's almost not the point of having it.
Yeah.
You know, it's those are the streets
And
precisely.
can you imagine the complaints in that one?
Yeah, and the investment, the last time I looked at it was, I believe, $5 million to purchase it. And that was a couple of years ago. So let's call it 6, 7, or 8 million today. That's a big dent. That's more than 1% on the tax budget.
True. Okay. All
So, you
right.
know, it is an issue, and I feel badly, particularly for our seniors, people with accessibility issues. You know, young moms. I talked to a young mom, and she said, you know, my husband's traveling. He usually shovels the walk, but he's away, and I had to do it with the kids. And then, oh, gee, I just got in the house, and then the snowplow came and put that ice wall back on the end of the driveway. I feel for you. I've been that mom. I've been that mom clearing the driveway. I know exactly how you feel. So, you know, we will raise it at council because I'm sure all the councillors have heard the complaints. I know that they've escalated them to me. So they are numerous, and I hear you. And we will have to look into whether the equipment exists that will actually clear that windrow from the small side streets and the cul-de-sacs, not just the large main arteries.
Sure.
And what the cost would be. And then I heard storing them is another problem because they're very large. Anyways, it's something to look into because I would hope that that this machinery is evolving, as well as municipalities, cities like Mississauga takes a look at them for our own specific needs.
True. Let's talk about the LRT. I see the bridges are going up at Highway 10 there. A lot of construction.
10 and 403, that just to north, to the northeast.
What's the latest on the loop?
One.
Any action
You know, I wish that were the loop, but it unfortunately is not. It is part of the LRT, clearing over the bridge over the 403. So I don't have any update for you. I saw the question come in. You know, I wish I had an update for you. I did have a meeting with the finance minister in a pre-budget consultation, one-on-one. I mean, I did present to the finance committee for Ontario big city mayors I made a pre-budget submission on our cumulative behalf, but I also went in personally and sat and spoke to him about Mississauga issues. And obviously that's always the top priority, to talk about the loop and how we reinstate it. And, you know, we did have the premier himself, the day he announced the LRT to be named for Hazel McCallie, and say, and Mayor Crombie, I know you want that loop, and I promise you we'll get that loop and we'll figure out how we do it. So it's out there. He did make the promise. He acknowledged that he made the promise. He acknowledges that he made the promise. However, I've yet to see any details in the budget. So right now we still have our fingers crossed that it is on top of his mind and one of his priorities, as it is mine. Certainly my top priority in our city. Well, no, second after independence.
Yeah. And then, so we did an article, Mississauga did an article about business in South Mississauga and Port Credit that's losing 50% of their business because of the Metrolinx LRT construction. Can anything be done about that to compensate them?
So, no.
Okay, right.
No. So we've heard of this before. Remember the Hanlon water main when that was built, and we had an ambassador program go out and, you know, work with the small businesses and help mitigate the impact that the Hanlon water main had on those small businesses, and, you know, the timing of when large trucks would come in and out of that area. So the same is happening now for the LRT in Port Credit area. But no, unfortunately, there is not any financial assistance for businesses impacted by the build. I only hope that once it is built, you know, their businesses will thrive and grow, and they will make back whatever they may have lost. So there, as you know, the cities are not the level of government that would provide any kind of grant or subsidy. As we learned during COVID, all the businesses were turning to us, and we said, unfortunately, that kind of subsidy or grant would have to come from federal or provincial government, and it did follow along. So I think they're very aware that city can't. So whether it could from the provincial government on a temporary basis, we could certainly advocate for that. But right now, you know, any construction is not mitigated financially by the provincial government. And you know, you probably saw the impact that the LRT or the made on Eglinton Avenue, right?
Yeah, true.
The impact to those stores as well.
Okay.
They weren't compensated.
International Women's Day is March 8th.
Yes. I have a number of events. Yes, go ahead.
No, I'm just asking who some of your trailblazers are in your world that you look up to.
Well, we know the obvious. She just passed away. I still feel like she's a presence here. She's around. Obviously, Hazel McCallion. But, you know, there are so many women. We have always had about half female representation on our council. And I speak about the fact that the fire chief is a woman and the former police chief was a woman, and the person who runs our hospital networks today and 5 years ago, both women, very strong women, very capable. United Way was run by a woman here as well. And then you look at someone like Fran Ryder, who has made Mississauga, who has made such an impact on women in hockey. So she's a legend in her own time. And then, of course, we all celebrated Bianca Andreescu, who, you know, beat Williams sisters and trained here in Mississauga at ORC.
She's still getting a road?
She is competing. Yeah, she is competing.
No, she's still getting a road? A road.
Oh, a road. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, she will get a road.
Okay.
We paused street namings, remember?
Okay. Oh, yeah, okay.
Pause street namings. However, Bianca will get her road.
Okay.
And then we've had a number of musicians, Olympians, particularly Olympians, if I can, you know, I like female hockey players abound here. Cheryl Pound, we're home to Cheryl Pounder as well. Katie Vincent, the last Olympics canoeing. Janet Leung, bronze medalist in softball. Natalie Weidman, also softball. So many people. There have been journalists. Our former city CAO, our city manager, Janice Baker, was a woman. So there's many women who have made a significant contribution to the growth and development of the city of Mississauga. I mean, we have widely been regarded as that place where everything is possible for everyone. You know, you have an equal opportunity to succeed. I think Hazel smashed through any of those barriers that prevented women, but also opened those doors to everyone, whether notwithstanding your gender, your culture, your religion, your wherever you were from. It doesn't matter. You do the work, do the homework, be prepared, and you have the equal opportunity to succeed. And I think, you know, there are so many trailblazers here because of that ethic that Hazel established.
Awesome. Let's talk about I guess kind of a weird segue, cannabis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
So what is the latest? It doesn't look like the Ontario government's going to budge on allowing you to put, you know, cannabis stores here or there. So
our objection had always been related to zoning and concentration of stores. You know, we wanted to be able to control where the stores would locate, not near any sensitive use like daycares and parks and group homes and schools, etc. But also we didn't want a concentration of them in any one area either. We didn't want, you know, empty storefronts as a result of COVID to be filled with cannabis stores, etc. But I think we have seen the example in other municipalities that it hasn't had that sort of impact. The stores look very professional. They tend not to necessarily congregate. And of course, there has been consolidation in the market. So where there were multiple stores, usually the best one, we've seen that the best one has been thrived and the others have not. Let's put it that way.
Are you saying that you guys are debating it again?
So, you know, we have a new council, so we should give them the opportunity to vote on this issue. The last two councils voted to turn it down, but largely over zoning issues. And now we have councillors like Councillor Demerla in Ward 7, who is very aware that it's very difficult to close down illegal stores. She has had a heck of a time trying to close down illegal stores. So we have a thriving black market. So many of us feel like we're contributing to the black market. The product is legal. We won't have control over the zoning. It's better we put them in place.
Okay.
And
so it's a debate
it's a legal product. People are purchasing it in Brampton or Toronto or ordering it online. And because there are existing illegal stores, you know, why not allow legal ones to open? She has a couple of illegal stores that even with the work with police, they close them down temporarily and they seem to open back up. And
Okay.
nothing we can have been able to do to keep them closed down.
Okay. So
So
it's a
we
debate.
have 4 new counselors, and let's have them have their voice on this issue. And I think that a report will come back with updated information on the impact that retail cannabis has had on municipalities across Ontario, and for us to refresh our memories on, the reasons why we turned it down initially, and allow those 4 new counselors to have their say. And it sounds like Councillor Demurla has really had a change of heart as a result of
Okay. So
as a result of seeing the illegal business thrive and our inability to close it down.
would she be a swing vote type thing to?
I haven't counted votes, but I would think it's pretty evenly balanced
Okay.
right.
Interesting. Okay.
I mean, I think there is there is hope for those who want retail cannabis. I think that the newer counselors were supportive. I know, if I could speak for Councillor Butt, because he's been on the Board of Trade, he had advocated for opening of those of cannabis stores in the past.
Sure.
And the other 3 have spoken in favor previously as well. So you may see it, but we'll wait. You never know with council. We have to make that ultimate decision and vote. And so I would expect we will see that before the summer.
Awesome.
That
Right.
we will have a vote before the summer.
Okay.
Don't want to predetermine the result, but I will have another vote.
Okay, awesome. A question came in recently. People have complained about the road closures, traffic noise, and stuff like that, especially in South Mississauga, Port Credit. Can anything be done about that? Because of all the construction, obviously.
I think we're referring to here, Ontario.
I think that, well, here, Ontario, and then the
Here,
lake.
Ontario is directly related to the construction work being done on the LRT, and that'll be a lot of short-term pain for what I hope will be long-term gain as people leave their cars behind and use the LRT. I know I'm going to try to. That'll be great. It'll go right to City Hall. Almost to my doorstep if we had the loop.
Sure.
And is there other area where they're facing some?
Well, I think Lakeview, and then also the what's the new community that's in Port
Brightwater? Brightwater? Yeah, Brightwater Lakeview. I haven't seen the road closures other than large trucks going in and out at certain times of the day. That not quite as disruptive as the LRT. But we're a city that's growing, and these are growing pains. We have 39 cranes in the air right now today.
Right.
So, along with growth comes a little bit of short-term pain. So I just ask everyone to please be patient. The worst corridors right now are here, Ontario, around the QEW, just north of it, just south of it. Those are problematic. I try to avoid those myself, and it is my route home. And
So one kind of I guess fun question: if you could undo or redo anything regarding development in Mississauga over the last 50 years, because Mississauga turns 50 next year, what would it be? Would it be the Living Arts Center? Would it be?
Oh, I love the Living Arts Center. I mean, I think it hurt that it was scaled back to 1,300 seats. I think originally it was planned to be, an A location with greater seating, and what had been cut back. I think, I wouldn't. That's not on my list.
No.
This city was built because land was cheap and gas was cheap, and we were a bedroom community to Toronto. I don't think it was anticipated that we would be the engine of Ontario. We have the second largest economy after Toronto in the province. And, we're still a net importer of jobs, and there's a lot of growth here. So, maybe reserving some land that the city owned so that we could plan it differently. Maybe I wouldn't have sold all the land. Maybe I wouldn't have leapfrogged the development. The development that the way the city grew was fashionable at the time, but I think we today know that it is not the most cost-effective or efficient way for a city to grow. So, if you had the lens, what today, could you apply that learning back then? We would change a lot of things, yes. But at the time, that was that was how Canada grew and how the US grew. So, the city and then the suburban cities around it that had all the housing and the wide boulevards. Today we would narrow the boulevards. We would build public transit at the same time that we build those subdivisions. right?
Sure. So last thing, Mayor, are you doing the Mississauga Marathon?
Well, if I did, I would only do the 5 or 10K. I wouldn't do the actual marathon.
Well, it's only a half right now.
Pardon?
It's
It's a
only a
half.
half.
It's a half. It's only a half, and it's not down the waterfront anymore. So
No.
I know that Elliot Kerr, who is part owner, we have to speak to him about getting it back to the waterfront because that's the most
So,
beautiful trail.
here-
How the only downside is the gnats, because it's
The what?
gnat season, and you know those little bugs when you're
Oh,
running and
yes.
they're all flying in your
Yeah.
mouth. So maybe having it up here by City Hall is a better
I'm
choice.
assuming you'll
Having
be
it
there,
down by the
right?
water. Pardon? Oh, I'm
You-
always there, and I usually run the 5K, but there's some talk about running the 10K with a couple of the teams. So I think I did make that commitment. I'm going to have to start training. That's in May, so I have a couple more months.
April 30th.
Oh, it's earlier.
Yeah, it's earlier. Yeah, April 30th. Yours truly is doing the half for the first time
Good
ever.
for you. Good.
Anyway,
You training with GSP? Is that what you're doing? Training with
yeah,
GSP?
of course, yeah, me and GSP. So yeah, but no, I'm training for
Coming into
half.
Mississauga for you and our friend Sam McDaddy, and you're all training together.
No, you got to meet George St. Pierre. That's
I
crazy.
know that was a real highlight. I mean,
That
he's
is-
a legend. He
Yeah.
is a legend. I was really honored to be part of that. Our friend, Realtor Sam McDaddy, brought him to town, and we had the opportunity to meet him and really hear about his life learnings and philosophies. And he's a very focused individual.
Well,
That's very focused on success, and you can certainly see why he is as accomplished as he is.
yeah, he is the UFC GOAT, as they say. So, but
UFC GOAT, yes.
the greatest of all time. So,
Yeah.
Mayor Crombie, thank you so much. I'll catch you next month.
And then nobody wrote in to ask who my favorite child was today.
No, not today. Not today.
Get on them, find out why they weren't watching. Okay, great. Thank you.
Take care. Bye.